real quick, let's address the elephant in the room, Jace. It was a rough weekend in Portland.
Yeah.
Great weather. But we had a court hosting the women's regional.
Yeah, and
that had two different lengths of 3-point lines.
And not by a little bit either.
Yeah, by almost a foot.
Yeah, 9 inches.
9 inches.
Yeah, that's you can't.
How does that happen?
You can't have that. And the sad part is, this city has been a punching bag for a while, and they did a really nice job, and they're working hard to try to make this better. And it's the tournament has been good here. There's been good support. We've had some good games. They've done a nice job of cleaning up the area around there, just like they did for St. Patrick's Day. I think a lot of time and effort went into that. And yet what's going to be remembered from this is the court. And we had nothing to do with it as a city. We had nothing to do with it as an organization with the Blazers. There was nothing. This was the NCAA in a third court, by the way, that was from Michigan. And they ended up with one side that was 9 inches different than the other. For the love of God.
It makes you wonder how often that has occurred.
Well, I know the Mavericks, I guess, had their the city court. They did all the special courts. The Mavericks was off by like an inch and a half, and they just didn't use it. They're like, all right, well, we're not doing it.
Now, I had read somewhere that with this one, it may be related to them actually changing the women's 3-point line distance in recent years. So they had the old distance on one of the halves and the current distance on the other.
But when
it's still a horrible oversight, but that's what I heard is the explanation
for it. Your whole job is to build a court. Like, that's all it's this, apparently Connor Stevens, not only does he have some sort of scandal when it comes to spying on people, he runs a business out of Michigan. It's called Connor Courts or whatever out of Michigan.
Connor Sports.
And they build courts as third party, but that's all you do is build courts. And you'd think building one for a regional final for the NCAA tournament is kind of a big deal. And you were off, like I don't know how that happens. And also, by the way, multiple games were played on that and no one noticed.
Yeah, they didn't notice till what I guess they said the 6th of 6 games, because it was the 4 Sweet 16 games and then the 2 Elite 8 games, and they only realized before the last Elite 8 game.
Some attorney, by the way, was up in the 300 level, and he was like, wait a minute, that looks weird. So he took a photo, then walked to the other side, took another one, and was like, that's not the angle. This is messed up. And he informed everyone, and the best part is originally the dudes are out there walking it like heel to toe, and then someone broke out a tape measure, and sure enough, 9 inches. And by the way, how about both coaches being like, out of hell with it, we'll play anyways? It's crazy.
Well, you both have to play on it.
Yeah, but, when I would assume the side that has it in the fourth quarter that has the short side, even though I guess the side with the normal length.
Yeah,
actually,
if you need a 3 late in the fourth, you clearly have a side you want to be on.
They shot worse on the shorter side. They were 29% from 3 on the side that was 9 inches shorter.
So it was in their heads.
And 33% on the other side.
Well, maybe there's an element of like you're just hitting back iron because you're used to. 9 inches in terms of shooting a basketball is kind of a big deal. 9 inches is always a big deal. Just saying.
So the NCAA uses Connor Sports to supply and install their courts. They said the marking used to draw the line at the top of the arc in the center of the court was marked too short. It did not identify the contractor that made the mistake. For all NCAA, this is a quote from Lynn Holzman, NCAA VP for women's basketball. She said, for all NCAA courts, a small hole is punched in the floor at each end of the court that indicates center of basket during the finishing process. A calibrated vinyl tape device is then placed in the hole, which lays the 2-inch game line to be painted. After reviewing the Portland court, it was found that the center hole was punched about 9 inches short of where it needed to be at the apex of the 3-point arc. Connor Sports and the NCAA found the inaccurate line was the result of human error by the finisher contracted by Connor Sports. Yeah. So it's like a Boeing thing.
Yeah. We're just passing
the last person at the company to work on it is holding the bag here.
Well, but Boeing has subcontracts.
Yeah.
So it's if the subcontractor screws up, everybody's like, Boeing, you suck. Yeah. Well, it wasn't us. It was the subcontractor. It wasn't Connor. It was the finishing contractor.
Yep.
But Connor's going to get blamed for it. Well, the review also found the sides of the 3-point line were accurately painted, as were all other court markings.
Yeah, it was just a matter of that one. But it's still... It blows my mind that it took 6 games for someone to see that, because when you actually look at it now, when you see the photo of it, it's alarming. Like, it is significant. But I think this is one of those where we all I have played, I don't know how many football games in my life. I have no idea. You could have shorted me yards and I would have never had any idea. You're telling me that if you walked out in the football field wasn't 100 yards, and it was off, or it wasn't as wide as it should be, because it's 53 and a half yards. If that had been 51 yards, I would have had no idea whatsoever.
I feel like the distance is a little bit more important to find out. I feel like in baseball, if you went out and the mound was a couple inches or a couple feet off, you'd be like, wait a second here. This feels way different. I think it depends on the sport how much the margin matters, right?
I would like to know that if we did a thing in Major League Baseball and we moved the bases a foot closer.
Or what if you made hockey goals, 4 inches tighter on each side or something like that?
I wonder how much. In hockey, they used to do this with pads and sticks, and I guess they still do. You can call out the other goalie, and you can go out, and if you're wrong, it's
get a measurement.
It's a penalty, but you can go out and you can measure his stick and pads, because there's plenty of times they're like, you're trying to squeeze an inch in on me here, and they do that. It's kind of nuts that this went unnoticed. I don't know if it had any impact on any of the games, but it just sucks that this is going to be another in a long line of Portland can't get its S together when this had nothing to do with us.
Yeah. I don't know. Is Portland taking a lot of heat for it? I mean, most people understand that this was not Portland's fault. This could have happened anywhere.
I'm just saying, from a national standpoint, I've seen a lot of.
It's hard to sidestep the blame there.
There's a lot of punchlines. The homeless guy, was he painting the court, and it's just it's just the standard.
It's just really dumb low hanging fruit.
Okay, well, it's fixed for tonight, by the way.
Yeah.
So UConn and USC are playing out there.
I kind of wanted to see what they would have done, because they said that originally they were like, hey, we'll delay it a little bit, but we'll tape it off. I wanted to see what they were going to... Are they going to seriously go out there and play with, like, painter's tape? Like, because they said that they were going to tape it, and then both guys were like, nah, or both sides were like, nah, we'll just play. And by the way, kudos for them for not being all butthurt and freaking out and being like, we refuse to play, because they had that option. They didn't have to play. And I love that they were like, no, we both have to play on it. We each get to shoot at that side one time.
You think Mulkey or Staley would have called it?
Boy, I don't know. Kim Mulkey. By the way,
that's a good question.
Did you read any of the Washington piece?
No, it's behind a paywall.
Oh, well, you don't have a way around that?
I don't know.
It's not that
Everybody
hard.
keeps telling me it's not that hard, but I never do it.
I read that thing. What was she pissed about?
I did not read it, but what I heard or what I saw summarized on Twitter and also on Danny and Dusty was basically that people picked up all the stories of her that are kind of bad about her personality, and then just kind of collected them into one place.
Yeah,
and wrote a profile that she's not that great.
It was the biggest nothing burger I've ever read.
But there weren't new revelations, right?
No. It talked a little bit about how her and her family have had a falling out, and there's some regret there on the part of her family that she's very competitive. She's kind of a bitch at times. She coaches really hard, can be really abrasive. There's some players that aren't a fan of hers, that there's some players that feel that she isn't supportive of gay athletes. These are all things that have been out there, but it also talks about how she's an amazing competitor, about how she won championships as a player, that she's one of the best coaches of all time. I actually thought it was a fairly balanced piece on her. I don't know what the hell she was yelling about. She just is such an unlikable figure for me.
Or she was paranoid that there is a bigger skeleton in the closet
seriously.
that's going to come out.
That's what it is.
I was like,
she was scared about what was going to be in that article.
Yeah, I want to know.
Which means we should keep digging.
Yeah, what have you done that makes you think that they could publish something that would really damage you? Because that thing wasn't bad at all.